BMW Mini E.
You're about to take off in the Mini E to drive to Los Angeles. So the window controls are on the main panel here. And that's how you open and close the windows. Here's the radio, which looks space age, but really is kind of bizarre. Here's
actually, this is the climate control. That's the radio.
That's the radio. But this is the volume on the radio.
Right.
And the regen braking, you take your foot off the accelerator and the regen braking doesn't hook in immediately, so it's kind of not really good for stop and go driving. Sort of like zoom and crash. But that's BMW. The original AC150 isn't like that. So, what's your state of charge now?
It's about 75% right now.
And we're in San Francisco, and you say we're going to make it to San Jose?
Yeah.
Where are you going to charge in San Jose? I mean, there's no chargers there. There's no electric.
Costco in San Jose.
Costco, okay.
Has chargers.
Oh, Costco, okay. This is not quite accurate. Is that the charge level, measured charge level increased from 75 to 77%. The AC150 that is under the hood probably was tweaked by BMW to mimic the BMW acceleration profile. So here we are leaving San Francisco.
Wrong, you think?
Are other ones this loud?
Remove light and see if it's just the concrete.
It is awfully loud. Controls there, drive and neutral, that's all there are, and that's just basically the standard EV controls. Handbrake's not on. I think it's just the road, we'll see. So here we are, sparking and sputtering our way in the rain. So far we've gone how many miles today since you charged it? 30?
The car's gone 35 miles.
Yeah.
And we've used 45% of the according to the meter, we've used 45% of the charge.
So the indicator range is about 70 miles.
A little more than that. The charge gauge is non-linear though.
So when you get down to 25%, you say that it'll bounce back and you start increasing?
For example, in the last 3 minutes, the charge went from 52% to 55%, and we're driving on a level freeway.
Is this sort of like...
We traveled a mile, so 2 miles. So obviously that algorithm doesn't quite make very much sense.
Is this sort of like a surprise algorithm? You never really know which way the gauge is going to go. Up, down, sideways?
Not quite. It's what we might call a defective calculation. So the computer has a methodology, and the methodology is clearly flawed. So
does this have anything to do with the need for the high accuracy when you're measuring lithium batteries, the 14-digit accuracy?
Not really, but what they do is they measure the voltage of the batteries, and they use a method they basically average it over a couple minutes, and they correlate that voltage with a assumed SOC charge level. And that method is simple. It's basically simple, but it has clearly some problems because the results aren't making sense in real world application.
What they were going to do on some of these lithium cars is they're going to actually meter the usage so that once you bring it to full, it resets to 0, and then just as in the Golf, they meter the usage, so when you use 25 amp hours.
This is not a new concept. This issue of measuring or estimating the charge level of a battery is nothing new at all. But the methodology that's been widely accepted for other batteries in modern times is that you count the cumulative flow of energy in amp hours, which would be charge. So you monitor that amount of amp hour charge, and you have an assumed capacity. Maybe you've calculated the battery capacity from historic charge cycles, or you have a method where you just know empirically that it should be a certain amount. So the amount that you used divided by the total capacity gives you the amount of depletion, or inversely, the level of charge is the percentage.
The state of charge, yeah.
So that's the method that's been used historically, but more with this car and with some other lithium battery vehicles, they're concerned that there may be some that there could be some drift in that methodology, and that the readings could end up being a little bit off. So rather than having having the car incorrectly display more charge than it actually has, they have a table now where it's in real time giving you real feedback of what it thinks the battery charge actually is based on voltage.
Based on voltage or d-voltage over dt or what?
Based on voltage. So just looking at the battery voltage, it's telling you what it thinks the charge is. And that method is not foolproof.
Well, the problem is the voltage per cell is there's such a narrow window between full and empty.
Well, that's not so much the issue, although it probably is a contributing factor. The main issue here is that the voltage does not track linearly with charge, and so there is a variation. This is this actually is a fairly reliable methodology. It's not going to get you into big trouble, but it will get you into a little bit of trouble. So you think that you have used up 50% of the charge when you've only used up 30% of the charge. The voltage will go up and down as the battery discharges, depending on the loads. But
so you're saying now that there's less load on the battery, the voltage should go up. Obviously there's a voltage drop when you do some acceleration. But now that you're cruising, let's say,
there are lots of ways
the voltage should recover.
Yeah, there are a lot of hooks in there, and I don't know the algorithm that they're using exactly, but I know what the outcome is and I know the general methodology.
Yeah.
So we can understand what they're trying to do. And the point of this is that it's plus or minus maybe 10% charge.
Yeah.
So maybe 20% charge. Like it says I'm at 48% now. I could be at 58 or maybe even 68% at the high end and 28% at the low end. Well, it happens on this car that it tends to read low. Okay, so I know what that means. Versus if I had an amp hour based SOC calculator, that's the other standard and the more widely accepted method. An amp hour integrator would maybe say that I had 50% left,
yeah,
and it would continue tracking linearly with charge. If it was say 15-20% off, as I got to the point where the batteries were no longer able to sustain the car, the amp hour meter might say that I had 25% charge remaining, but suddenly the car doesn't want to move.
Yeah.
With an amp hour only integrator, you have the possibility of the driver suddenly not having any charge that they thought was there. With this one, there's at least a smooth transition from right now it says 46%. We've traveled some miles. It's gradually going down. It's not going to suddenly go from 30% to 0%.
We're down to like 28%, which is probably the algorithm, but you know, the nickel battery, remember the EV1 we had up to 160 miles range with nickel batteries. So, you know, we'd be zooming down to where?
160 miles from San Francisco would get you to King City.
If you had the RAV4 batteries in the EV1, you'd have over 200 miles range, yeah. And so this thing, we're down to 28%. Of course, it's just not good for driving in between cities. We're down to 28% after going 50 miles total, and the voltage is still dropping like a Delco EV1. If these were nickel batteries, you know, we'd still be showing more than 50% because it's only gone 50 miles. So on the RAV4 EV, which weighs more than this thing, it has some more room in it. You know, it could be carrying 5 people. We'd have much more range than we do in this thing. And it's nerve-wracking because we're down to 28% and we still have 30 miles to go to get to the charger. So here is the sophisticated charging apparatus. You know, since they won't let us just plug into a plug, we have to go through this. Cords and wires and stuff to hook up to one of these antiquated Avcon connectors. So at least the charger talks, does something. But you know, the charger talks, but But who cares what it says?
9:02 a.m. Begin full charge.
The discharger is going on and off. It's obviously a bad contactor. And finally we got this thing charging. It was a bad contactor in this antiquated stuff here. You see all these wires and ropes here. This is the kind of stuff you have to do. But we finally got it working, so we don't have to forge on to the next site. And thank you, Costco. Costco is a wonderful place. Every electric car driver, everybody who cares about electric cars should be a Costco member. So notice these are electric vehicle charging sites, and this is a tire company. The tire people park their cars here. It's temporary, for temporary parking, so it actually helps us out. So we left Costco and we're on the 152 going up to Los Baños, where there's an RV park. We just passed an RV park that we could have used. We're now down to, what is the percentage?
Well, we're driving through the Pacheco Pass right now. It's a beautiful time of year. Grass is still green and trees are growing. And we're down to, we've gone 100 miles from San Francisco. We're about 20 miles from the RV park in Los Baños.
So we'll get to the top with about 15%, and then at the RV park will also be about 15%.
Something like that. There's the pass, the Pacheco Pass is like 15 miles from the RV.
This is the actual best way to charge. There's just a plug going in right into the car. And it charges at 12 kilowatts because it's 50 amps here. This is an RV park in the middle of nowhere, beautiful. But at this RV park we have 50, like with all the other chargers, we have 50 amps, 12 kilowatts at 240. Jane Road RV park, and we're charging at 12 kilowatts. And so after maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, we'll be up to 100%. And then the next 80 mile stint, 100 miles. This stint was 81 miles. And these RV parks are nice places, so we'll hang out in the rec room or go down and get some coffee. But it would be nice to have 160 miles range or a nickel metal anhydride car, because you know, 80 or 100 miles each stint is a long time.